A mountain lion standing over a deer carcass in the dark, mid-meal, blood still warm. It's been hunting for 2 days. This skill matters. Then, from somewhere in the trees, a voice. Just talking, not shouting, not threatening, just a person. Having a normal conversation. Completely unaware anything is listening. The lion freezes, doesn't sniff the air first, doesn't scan for movement. It just goes, leaves the kill, leaves the calories, leaves 2 days of work rotting in the dirt, and disappears into the brush. Like the sound itself was a gunshot. That's not a story, that's a recorded experiment. Researchers at UC Santa Cruz rigged speakers near mountain lion territory and played them human voices, sometimes pulled from podcasts and radio, low volume, completely non-threatening, and the lions ran, not occasionally, consistently, faster and further than when the researchers played the sound of barking dogs, an animal that can actually kill them. Now hold that thought, because here's the part that should bother you. You, statistically, are one of the most defenseless animals on the planet during roughly a third of your life. You lie flat, you go unconscious, you stop scanning your surroundings entirely. Every defense mechanism you have, the eyes, the reflexes, the ability to run, switches off. And you have been doing this every single night, in places that were once crawling with exactly the kind of animal that just fled from a podcast. So why didn't it ever go the other way? That's the question this video is actually about. Not are predators dangerous? Obviously they are. The question is, why something capable of killing you in under 4 seconds chooses almost every single time not to? And the answer isn't luck. It isn't even really about you, the individual. It's about something that's been quietly engineered into both species over an almost incomprehensible stretch of time. Let's start with that mountain lion experiment, because it's better and weirder than it first sounds. This wasn't a one-off. The research team set up 2 separate sites and ran the playback for weeks at a time, comparing lion behavior when they heard human voices versus when they heard something harmless, like a frog calling. The lions didn't just leave the area faster, they moved through it differently the entire time they were there. Slower, more cautious, sticking closer to cover, behaving the way prey animals behave around something that might be hunting them. Think about the absurdity of that for a second. A mountain lion is an apex predator. It has no natural enemy in that forest. Nothing is hunting it. The second a human voice entered the soundscape, its entire nervous system shifted into the posture of something being hunted. That's not a learned response from a bad personal experience. Most of these lions had probably never had a violent encounter with a person in their life. That is something deeper than memory. That is something closer to instinct. And that's where the real story starts. Because that instinct didn't just come from nowhere. It was built for roughly 2 million years. The genus that eventually became us was an apex predator in its own right, hunting alongside and against the largest carnivores on the planet. And we weren't gentle about it. We weren't picking off the sick and the slow the way most predators do. Every humans went after prime adult megafauna, animals in their physical peak, using tools, fire, coordinated group tactics, and frankly a willingness to take enormous risk that most other species simply didn't have access to. Marmots, giant ground sloths, cave bears, saber-toothed cats, species that had survived ice ages, survived other predators, survived everything nature had thrown at them for millions of years, gone within a relatively short window. But it didn't stop with prey animals. We hunted the competition too. Wolves, big cats, bears, anything that threatened a camp or a kill got targeted, trapped, driven off, or killed outright, generation after generation, for tens of thousands of years. And here's the part that actually explains your safety tonight. The predators that were bold around humans, the ones that approached camps, that got curious, that didn't run, they died repeatedly across every continent we touched. Meanwhile, the cautious ones, the ones with some instinctive sense that this particular animal was worth avoiding, survived long enough to pass that caution on. That's not a metaphor for evolution. That is evolution, running exactly as designed. Every generation, the genetic dial got turned slightly further towards fear. Multiply that by thousands of generations, and you get what we have today. Predator populations all over the world that are at a biological level preloaded with caution towards humans before they have ever personally encountered one. It's baked into the nervous system, the same way a fear of falling is baked into a human infant who has never actually fallen from a height. Nobody taught it. It's just there, waiting. So that's the long-range explanation. But evolution alone does not explain why a sleeping body specifically gets ignored. For that, you have to get into chemistry. There's a theory researchers call chemical aposematism, and the basic idea is borrowed from something you already understand instinctively, even if you have never heard the term. Think about a wasp. Bright yellow and black, impossible to miss. Advertising danger before it ever has to sting anything. That's aposematism. A warning signal broadcast in advance, so the predator never has to test the threat directly. The theory suggests human scent might function the same way, except instead of bright colors, it's a chemical signature. Humans are strange among primates. We have an unusually dense concentration of sweat glands, and we retained patches of hair, specifically in places like the armpits, areas that are essentially built to trap and slowly release scent into the air. From a pure thermoregulation standpoint, that's a strange design choice. But from a signaling standpoint, it makes a different kind of sense. You're not just smelling like a primate, you're broadcasting continuously, even while completely unconscious. And here's the unsettling part. Many predators process scent through something called the vomeronasal organ, a secondary smell system tucked behind the nose that doesn't root through the thinking part of the brain at all. It connects almost directly to the defensive centers, the parts responsible for fight, flight, and freeze. Which means a predator doesn't have to consciously evaluate your scent and decide you're dangerous. The signal can trigger an avoidance response before any actual decision making happens. You're not being thought about. You're not being reacted to automatically. The way you would flinch from a loud noise before you knew what made it. Now layer fire on top of that. Because fire might be the single most underrated piece of technology in the history of our species. There's a phenomenon researchers call fire naivety, and it shows up in a strange and very specific way. Animals from regions that have never experienced wildfires, when exposed to smoke for the first time in a controlled setting, show almost no reaction. They don't know what it means yet. But animals from fire-prone ecosystems, even ones raised entirely in captivity with zero personal exposure to actual flame, panic immediately at the first whiff of smoke. Captive-born reptiles that have literally never seen fire in their lives will scramble for cover the second smoke enters the room. That response isn't learned, it's inherited. It's written into the species at a level deeper than individual experience. Most of the large predators that historically shared territory with humans, lions, leopards, tigers, evolved in fire-adjacent landscapes, savannas, dry forests, places where wildfire was a real and recurring danger, which means most of them likely carry some version of that same hand-wired aversion. So when early humans figured out how to control fire, somewhere between 700,000 years ago, they were not just inventing warmth and cooked food. They were broadcasting a signal that every fire-adapted predator on the landscape was already biologically primed to avoid. A campfire wasn't a barrier, it was a message, written in a language predators had been fluent in for longer than humans had even existed. Okay, now let's deal with the biggest misconception sitting underneath all of this, because it changes everything about how you should picture a predator's actual decision-making process. Movies have trained us to picture apex predators as fearless, unstoppable, a wall of muscle that attacks anything that moves because it can. That's almost the exact opposite of how wild predators actually behave. In reality, large carnivores are some of the most risk-averse decision makers in the animal kingdom because they have to be. There's no emergency room in the wild. A torn muscles, a broken tooth, a deep cut that gets infected, any of this can be a slow death sentence. So every potential attack gets run through a kind of constant, instinctive cost-benefit calculation. Is this familiar prey? Do I know how it moves? How it fights back? How it dies? Is the energy I will burn worth the calories I'll gain? And critically, is there an easier option nearby? A sleeping human fails almost every part of that equation. You don't match the shape, scent, or movement pattern of anything in a predator's evolved hunting template. You are an unknown variable in a system that's built entirely around familiarity. And unknown variables to a predator that cannot afford to gamble its body read as danger first, and opportunity a distant second, if at all. Even your shape works against being targeted. Predators that ambush the lions and leopards of the world are calibrated to attack low, vulnerable silhouettes, the crouched posture of grazing prey. Humans, when upright, do something almost no prey animal does. We stand fully vertical on two legs. Researchers studying force mechanics have found that a downward strike thrown from a standing point can carry significantly more force than the same strike thrown from a four-legged stance. Predators don't need to understand the physics to register the threat. Bipedal posture across the animal kingdom reads as a dominance display. Gorillas do it, bears do it. We just happen to do it constantly, as our default walking position, which means even at rest, your silhouettes doesn't match the template of something easy to take down. Then there's the part most people get completely backwards. The idea that being asleep means being unguarded. Researchers studied the Hadza, a hunter-gatherer community in Tanzania, whose lifestyles closely mirrors how humans lived for most of our history, tracked the sleep patterns of an entire group for 20 days using movement sensors. The goal was simple: find out how often the whole group was actually simultaneously completely asleep at the same time fully unguarded. The group was almost never simultaneously fully asleep. For nearly the entire night, every night someone in that group was awake or in a light enough stage of sleep to react instantly. It wasn't a designated watch schedule. It emerged naturally because different age groups have different internal clocks. Older adults tend to wake earlier and sleep lighter. Younger adults run later. Stack those chronotypes together across a group and you will get something close to round-the-clock coverage without anyone ever consciously planning it. That's not a coincidence. That's a species-level survival system, quietly running in the background of something as ordinary as a sleep schedule. And it compounds the moment you're not sleeping alone, which for most of human history, you almost never were. Predators understand groups intimately because their usual prey lives in groups too. A herd animal at the center of the pack is protected. The ones at the edges, the isolated, the separated, those are the ones that get targeted. It's mathematically safer to be surrounded. A sleeping human camp works the same way. One person staring, one twig snapping under someone's foot, one half-asleep voice asking what that noise was, and the entire group's collective alertness spikes at once. For a predator trying to make a clean, low-risk kill, that kind of unpredictable group reaction is exactly the scenario evolution has trained it to avoid. Now, all of this paints a picture that might sound almost too safe. So let's be honest about where it breaks down, because it does break down. And the pattern of when it breaks down is almost more revealing than the safety itself. In 1898, 2 lions near the Towaso River in Kenya killed and partially fed on a number of railway workers over about 9 months. Over time, the story grew, and some people claim the lions had killed as many as 135 people. But isotope analysis conducted decades later on the actual lion's remains told a more precise story. Dozens of people total, split unevenly between the two animals, still horrifying, still real, but the biggest detail is why it happened at all. A disease outbreak had recently wiped out much of the lion's natural prey in that region, and one of the 2 lions had a severe jaw injury. That would have made hunting normal prey extremely difficult. These were not healthy typical lions making a typical choice. They were animals whose entire survival calculation had been forced into collapse. The Champawat tigress, responsible for an estimated several hundred deaths across Nepal and India in the early 1900s, follows the exact same pattern, just on a larger and more tragic scale. A postmortem examination after she was finally killed revealed that her upper and lower canines on one side had been shattered, almost certainly from an earlier gunshot wound. A tiger with broken canines cannot kill normal prey efficiently. It cannot take down a deer or a boar the way it's built to. So she did not choose humans out of some predatory boldness. She was pushed there by injury, by desperation, by a body that could no longer do what evolution had designed it to do. And even then, even at her most lethal, she still avoided attacking at night. Every recorded kill happened in daylight. Even a starving, injured, habituated man-eating tiger respected the nighttime defenses humans had built up over millennia. That detail alone tells you almost everything you need to know about how strong this invisible system really is. Even when it's actively failing, the pattern across nearly every documented man-eating case is identical. Something breaks first. Injury, habitat collapse, habituation from being fed by humans who did not know better. The fear doesn't fail randomly. It fails when the whole system underneath it had already been damaged. And here's the part of this that turns it from a personal safety story into a something much bigger. That same mountain lion study didn't stop at proving lions are afraid of human voices. It kept tracking what happened next, all the way down the food chain. When lions avoided an area because of the perceived human presence, the medium-sized predators in that area, the skunks, the raccoons, the smaller carnivores that normally avoid lions, started using that space more freely because their own predator had backed off. And when those mid-level predators shifted their behavior, the small mammals underneath them, deer, mice in particular, expanded how much space they used by close to half, foraging longer and further than they normally would. One species fear rippling 4 layers down a food web, reconstructing an entire ecosystem's geography without a single direct interaction. That's the actual scale of what's happening every time you sleep in a tent and wake up undisturbed. It's not luck. It's not even really about you specifically. In the end, result of roughly 2 million years of pressure return into the genetics, the chemistry, the instincts of nearly every large predator that still shares the planet with us. The campfire isn't just warmth. A voice isn't just sound. Your upright shape, even collapsed and unconscious on the ground, is still, on some old wordless biological level, a signal. So the next time you're in a tent, hearing something move out past the tree line, and that old, useless feeling, fear creeps in, that's not weakness. That's an instinct that's been running successfully for 2 million years. And on the other side of that fear, something is almost certainly running an even older instinct of its own, one that's telling it very clearly to leave you alone. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.